Lost Hours. Chapter 1. The Workshop and the Routine. That night, there was only one sound in the watchmaker's workshop. Tick-tock. Elias rubbed his eyes with his hands. The clocks showed 11:47 p.m., but which clock, no one could know. The walls of his workshop were covered with hundreds of clocks, each showing a different time. Some had stopped, some were running backwards, and some were counting hours that had never existed. Elias sat at his small desk, adjusting his glasses as he stared at the old pocket watch in his hand. Its silver case was full of scratches, and there was a faded engraving on its lid. Someone had brought it in early that morning, an old woman. "My father's watch," she had said, her voice trembling. "Please make it work. I feel like there's something inside it." Something inside it? Elias gently opened the watch. The mechanism had stopped, but strangely, it wasn't rusted. It looked as if it had been made just yesterday. He examined the gears, checked the springs. Everything was in place, but the watch didn't work. Then he saw it. At the very center of the mechanism was a tiny piece of paper, small enough to go unnoticed. He carefully removed it with tweezers. It was yellowed and faded. Written on it in handwriting was a single sentence: "Stopped clocks hide the truth." Elias lifted his head. The hundreds of clocks in his workshop were staring at him. All of them were silent, but it felt as if they were waiting for something. He took a deep breath. Maybe it was just an old note. Maybe it meant nothing. All that. Elias Thorne was a 60-year-old man. He had spent the last 40 years of his life in this small workshop. It was a shop forgotten by time on an old street in the city center. The display window hadn't been cleaned in years, and the inside was lit by a dim light. Above the door, in faded letters, it read, "Thorne Watch Repair since 1952. But Elias hadn't opened the shop in 1952. His father had, and his father before him. The Thorne family had been watchmakers for 3 generations. This wasn't just a profession. It was an inheritance, a responsibility, a destiny.
Elias had grown up surrounded by clocks since childhood. His father had taught him all the tricks of the trade: how to open a watch, how to clean the mechanism, how to place the gears. But his father had taught him something else as well. Clocks don't just measure time. They store time itself. Every clock, his father would say, tells a story, the story of the person who carried it. And our job isn't just to fix the clock, it's to protect that story. As a child, Elias hadn't understood these words, but as the years passed, he slowly began to understand. Every customer brought a piece of themselves along with the watch they handed over, a memory, a feeling, a moment. And as Elias repaired the watch, he was, in truth, repairing that moment as well. His father had died 10 years ago. In his final days, lying in a hospital bed, he had told Elias something. "My son, I'm going to tell you a secret. Our family isn't just made up of watchmakers. We are guardians of time, and one day you will understand. Stopped clocks hide the truth."
At the time, Elias hadn't understood these words. But now, as he looked at the yellowed piece of paper in his hand, his father's words echoed in his mind. Stopped clocks hide the truth. When morning came, sunlight filtered through the workshop window. Elias had fallen asleep at his desk. When he lifted his head, the first thing he saw was the pocket watch, and now it was working. Tick-tock, tick-tock. How was this possible? He hadn't done anything to it the night before. He had only removed the note. And yet now the watch was ticking with perfect rhythm, as if it had never stopped. Elias picked it up. It was heavy, but it also gave off a strange warmth. He opened the lid. The mechanism was moving, the gears interlocking. Everything looked normal. But where had he put the note? He searched the desk. He couldn't find it. It wasn't on the floor either, as if it had never existed. Had he imagined it? No, the note was real. He had held it in his hands. Stopped clocks hide the truth. For the rest of the day, Elias couldn't think of anything else. He returned watches to customers, took new orders, but his mind was always on that note. When evening came, he closed the workshop and went upstairs to his small apartment. And that night, he had the dream again.
In the dream, he was always in the same room. The walls were covered with countless clocks, but these clocks were stopped. None of them were working. The room was silent, yet Elias could feel it. The clocks were breathing. In the dream, he always did the same thing. He walked up to a clock on the wall. It was a small wooden clock. Its hour and minute hands were stopped at 3:15. Elias reached out and opened the clock's back.
And inside, there was always the same thing, a key. But every time he was about to take the key, he woke up. This night was no different. Elias woke up gasping for breath. The clock read 3:47 a.m. The room was dark, lit only by the street lamp outside the window. His heart was pounding. The key, the same key every night. Elias got out of bed, went to the kitchen, and drank a glass of water. But his mind was still on the dream. Stopped clocks, clocks that hide the truth. He paused for a moment. Then he understood. He went down to the workshop. When he opened the workshop door, darkness greeted him. He didn't turn on the light. The moonlight was enough. He looked at the clocks on the walls. Hundreds of clocks. Most of them were running, but some had stopped. Elias stepped closer to the walls. He passed the working clocks and focused only on the stopped ones. A small desk clock. It had stopped at 11:11. Elias carefully took it down and opened the back. He examined the mechanism. Nothing. He moved on to the next clock, an old wooden wall clock. It had stopped at 6:30. He took it down and opened it. Again, nothing. The third, the fourth, the fifth. Elias checked every stopped clock one by one, but he found nothing in any of them. Maybe it was just a dream. Maybe the note had been a coincidence. But then he saw the small clock in the corner. It was a simple wooden clock. Its hour and minute hands were stopped at 3:15, just like in his dream. Elias slowly approached it. He picked it up. It was light, almost weightless. He opened the back, and inside there was a small key.
The moment Elias held the key in his hand, every clock in the workshop stopped at once. The ticking ceased. Silence fell. Elias looked around. All the clocks that had been running were now stopped, as if time itself had frozen. But no, he could still move. He could breathe. Only the clocks had stopped. The key felt heavy in his hand. The cold metal's warmth spread into his palm. There was an engraving on it. Time 1700. Time 1700? What did that mean? Elias looked around every corner of the workshop. There had to be a lock, a drawer, a box. The key had to fit somewhere. Then he remembered. In the far back corner of the workshop, there was an old cabinet he hadn't opened in years. It had belonged to his grandfather. Inside were old watch parts and unused tools. But the bottom drawer of the cabinet was locked, and Elias had never found the key for it. He rushed to the cabinet. He knelt down and tried the bottom drawer. It was locked. He inserted the key. The drawer opened. Inside, there was only one thing: a large, leather-bound notebook. Elias took the notebook and carried it to his desk. By candlelight, he opened its pages. Pages filled with handwriting, dates, names, times. And on every page, the same sentence was repeated. When time is stopped, the truth emerges. Elias turned the pages. The notebook contained the names of hundreds of people, and next to each name was a time: 3:15, 11:11, 6:30, 14:42. Stopped times. And beneath every name was a note: lost, found, forgotten, remembered. As Elias read, he began to understand. This wasn't just a notebook. It was a record of stopped clocks, and each clock represented a moment, a frozen moment, a moment someone wanted to forget or needed to remember. Then he saw his own name: Elias Thorne, 0822, lost. His heart stopped. When? What moment? What had happened at 8:22? He turned the page. On the next page, there was a letter written in handwriting. Dear Elias, if you have found the key, it means the clocks have shown you the truth. You must know that watch repair is not just a profession, it is guardianship over time. Every stopped clock hides a secret. Every running clock sustains a lie. Your clock stopped at 8:22. That morning, you lost your mother, but you don't remember it because you stopped that moment. To avoid feeling its pain, you froze it and hid it away. But now it is time to remember. Find your grandfather's clock, make it run, and remember. Your father. The letter was written by his father. Elias's eyes filled with tears. His father had left this notebook for him before he died. But why now? Why 10 years later?
Chapter 2. Remembering.
Elias set the notebook aside and walked around his workshop. His grandfather's clock. Which one was it? There were hundreds of clocks here. But then he remembered. On the top shelf, all the way in the back, hidden from view. A small pocket watch, gold-plated, with a faded chain. His grandfather always carried it with him. Elias pulled the ladder over, climbed up, and took the watch down. The hour and minute hands were stopped at 8:22. He opened the watch. The mechanism was clean, but it wasn't working. Elias gently tightened the spring and set the gears in place. He could feel his hands trembling. Then he closed the watch and waited. Tick, tock. The watch began to run, and in that moment he remembered everything. Morning, 8:22. The clock in the kitchen was ticking. Elias was 7 years old. His mother was sitting at the table, but she wasn't speaking. His father was on the phone, his voice shaking. "The ambulance is on the way," he was saying. "Hold on, please hold on." But his mother hadn't held on. Elias remembered that morning. He remembered his mother's final look. He remembered the teacup on the table. He remembered the ticking of the clock. And then he remembered nothing. For years he had forgotten that morning. He had erased it from his mind. But now everything had come back. Tears streamed down his cheeks, but this time he didn't feel pain. He felt only peace. Because now he remembered. He remembered his mother's final words. "Elias, my dear," she had said, her voice very weak, "you are a strong child. Never forget, I have always loved you." Elias was only 7 years old at the time. He hadn't fully understood what his mother meant. But now, 53 years later, he understood. His mother had been saying goodbye. Those were her final words. And little Elias had found that moment unbearable, so he had closed a door in his mind. He had frozen that moment at 8:22. The clocks had kept moving after that moment, but for Elias, that moment had always remained there, frozen, hidden, forgotten. But now he remembered, and remembering did not hurt. It only brought peace.
Days passed. Elias examined the other names in the notebook. Every stopped clock told a story. Some of them were happy moments. Some of them were painful ones. But all of them were real. All of them had been hidden. Every evening, Elias took one clock and repaired it. And when each clock began to run, a moment returned. Sometimes his own memories, sometimes the memories of others. The first clock belonged to a young man. His name was Michael. His clock had stopped at 14:42. When Elias repaired the clock, the young man came to the shop a week later. His eyes were filled with tears. "What happened?" he asked. "What did you do to the clock? My mother. I heard my mother's voice for the first time in years. She was singing to me, just like she did when I was a child." Elias smiled. "The clock is working now, that's all." "No," said Michael. "This isn't just a clock. This is a door to the past." Elias said nothing, because Michael was right. Clocks didn't just measure time. They were doors to time itself. The third clock belonged to an elderly woman. Her name was Margaret. Her clock had stopped at 06:30.
When Margaret came to collect her clock, Elias asked her, "What does this clock mean to you?" Margaret hesitated. Then she said, "It was my husband's clock. He gave it to me 50 years ago, on the morning of our wedding. That morning at 06:30, it woke me up. 'Get up,' he said. 'Today is the first day of our life.' And we watched the sunrise together." And then what happened? Then he died 10 years ago, and I hid the clock away because it hurt too much to look at it. But now I'm ready. I'm ready to remember. Elias handed it to her. It's running now, and every tick will remember that morning. Margaret took the clock and pressed it to her chest. "Thank you," she said. "You are not just a repairman, you are a healer." The third clock belonged to a young woman. Her name was Sarah. Her clock had stopped at 11:11. When Sarah brought the clock in, Elias had asked her, "Why do you want it repaired? This clock is an antique now. You could buy a new one." Sarah had smiled. "Because this clock was a gift from my father. He gave it to me at 11:11 on the day of my graduation ceremony. This clock," he said, "is your time. From now on, your time belongs to you." But a year later, my father died, and the clock stopped too, as if time itself froze with him. And now? Now I want time to flow again. Even without my father, life goes on, and I want to go on. Elias repaired the clock, and when Sarah came to pick it up, her eyes were shining. "Listen," she said, holding the clock to her ear. "Tick-tock. My father is still with me. Every tick is like his heartbeat, and I'm not alone anymore." Every clock was a story, and Elias was slowly beginning to understand. His father had been right. They were guardians of time, and their duty was not just to repair clocks, it was to repair hearts, to repair memories, to repair time. One night, Elias looked at the notebook again. He read the continuation of the letter his father had written. "My son, I don't know when you will reach this notebook. Maybe in a few months, maybe in a few years, but I know you will find it when you are ready. Our family has done this work for centuries, from grandfather to grandson, watch repair. But this is not just a profession, it is a duty, because people freeze painful moments in order to forget them. They stop their clocks, and those stopped clocks represent the time that has stopped in their hearts. Our job is to make those clocks run again, to let that time flow again, because time must flow, pain must pass, memories must be remembered, but life must go on. You will learn this too, Elias, and one day you will leave this notebook to your own son, if you have one, or to someone you deem worthy. Because this duty is not just ours, it belongs to time itself, and time will always flow. I love you, my son, your father." Elias closed the notebook. His eyes were filled with tears, but he was smiling. His father had died 10 years ago, but he was still speaking to him, through the letter, through the clocks, through time itself. And Elias understood. Death did not stop time. It only changed its form. His father was still alive. In every clock he repaired, in every remembered moment,
in every flowing second. Chapter 3: The Secret of the Lost Clocks. A month passed. Elias examined every name in the notebook. There were hundreds of names. Some dated back 100 years. Some were more recent. And next to every name, there was a time, a stopped time. Elias wondered, had all of these people brought their clocks in for repair? Or had they simply left their clocks behind and never returned? One day, Elias made a decision. He would investigate some of these people. He would find those who were still alive, and he would return them their clocks. The first name he chose from the notebook was Robert Whitfield, 1945, forgotten. Elias searched the city records. Robert Whitfield was 82 years old. He was still alive. He lived in a small house outside the city. Elias found Robert's clock. It was an old wall clock. It had stopped at 1945. He repaired the clock, and then he went to visit Robert. Robert Whitfield's house was in a quiet neighborhood, surrounded by trees. It was a small wooden house. Elias knocked on the door. An elderly man opened it. His hair was white, his face wrinkled, but his eyes were clear. "Yes," the old man said. "Mr. Whitfield, I'm Elias Thorne, a watchmaker. I brought you something." Robert looked surprised. "A clock? But I never gave you a clock." "Your father did, years ago, and now I'm bringing it back to you." Elias held out the clock. When Robert saw it, his expression changed. His color drained from his face. His hands trembled. This, his voice broke. "This is the clock from the living room, my mother's clock." "Yes," Elias said, "and it stopped at 1945. Robert took the clock. His hands were shaking. "How did you find this?" "It's a long story, but what matters is that the clock is working now. May I come in?" Robert opened the door, and Elias stepped inside. The house was simple but clean. There was old furniture in the living room. Robert hung the clock on the wall, back in its original place. "Here," Robert said softly, "right here. Every evening at 1945, my mother would prepare dinner, and this clock would ring and tell us that the meal was ready." "What happened?" Robert took a deep breath. "One day, my mother became ill. She was taken to the hospital. That night, exactly at 1945, this clock stopped, and it never worked again. A week later, my mother died, and I never had that clock repaired, because as long as it stayed stopped, it felt like my mother was still alive. Do you understand?" Elias nodded. "I understand, but the clock is running now, and that doesn't mean your mother is gone. It means time is flowing. Your mother lived, she loved, and she passed on, but life continues." Robert wiped his eyes. "I know, but I was afraid. If the clock started running again, then my mother would truly be gone." "No," Elias said. "If the clock runs, your mother will still be with you in every tick, because that clock carries her time. And as long as you remember, that time will keep flowing." Robert listened to the clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. His eyes filled with tears, but he smiled. "You're right. Thank you. You didn't just bring me a clock. You brought my mother back." The second name. Hannah Morrison, 1630. Found.
Hannah Morrison was 45 years old. She lived in the city, in a modern apartment building. When Elias contacted her, Hannah was suspicious at first. A clock? What clock? The pendant watch your father gave you when you were a child. It stopped at 16:30. Hannah's expression changed. How did you find that watch? I lost it 20 years ago. Your father brought it to my workshop for repair, but that day he had an accident. He never came back to collect it. It stayed in my workshop for 20 years. Now I'm returning it to you. Hannah took the watch. It was a small gold pendant watch. On the inside of the lid there was a picture, a young man and a little girl, Hannah and her father. My father gave this to me when I was 12, at 16:30 when I came home from school. This watch, he said, will remind you that I am always with you. But 3 years later, my father died in a traffic accident, and I lost the watch. I could never find it.
But now you have, Elias said, and it's running. Hannah opened the watch. Tick-tock. Her eyes filled with tears. It's like my father's heartbeat, she said. Thank you. You're like an angel. No, Elias said. I'm just a watchmaker. The third name. Daniel Cross, 2359, lost. Daniel was difficult to find because Daniel was homeless. He lived on the streets. Elias searched for days and finally found him in a park. Daniel was a man in his mid-40s, but he looked closer to 60. His beard was long, his clothes were torn. Mr. Cross? Elias asked. Daniel looked at him. His eyes were wary. Who's asking? My name is Elias. I brought you something, your father's watch. Daniel looked surprised. My father's watch? My father died 20 years ago. I know, but he left it with me. He wanted it repaired, and now I'm giving it to you. Elias held out the watch. It was a large, old pocket watch. It had stopped at 23:59. Daniel took the watch. His hands trembled. This watch was my father's last gift to me. He gave it to me when I was 18. Son, he said, time is precious. Don't waste it. But I wasted it. I got into drugs. I ruined my life. And when my father died, this watch stopped, as if it was judging me. But it's running now, Elias said, and that means you still have time to change. Daniel listened to the watch. Tick-tock. His eyes filled with tears. Really? Can I really change? Yes, Elias said. Time is always flowing. It's never too late. Daniel cried. He cried for a long time, and Elias sat beside him and waited. Thank you, Daniel finally said. You didn't just give me a watch, you gave me hope. Every clock was a story, and slowly Elias was putting all the stories together. His grandfather, his father, himself, they had all been doing the same work, repairing time, repairing hearts. But one day, Elias noticed another name in the notebook, and this one was different, because this name did not yet belong to the living. Emma Thorne, 12 o'clock, future. Emma Thorne? Who was that? Elias had no children. He had never married. So where did this name come from? Then he understood. Emma Thorne had not yet been born, but she would be, one day, perhaps Elias's granddaughter, or the child of his grandchild. And that clock had stopped at 12 o'clock, but it had not yet stopped, because it was a clock of the future.
Elias understood. Time did not look only to the past. Time also looked to the future. And that notebook did not record only the stopped clocks of the past. It also recorded the stopped clocks of the future. This was the secret of time. Time was not linear. Time was cyclical. Past, present, and future were all intertwined, and the stopped clocks revealed that cycle.
Chapter 4. The Cycle of Time.
Elias read the notebook again, from beginning to end. This time from a different perspective, trying to understand the connection between the past and the future. There were hundreds of names in the notebook. Some were from centuries ago. Some had not yet come. And every name had a time, a stopped time. Elias developed a theory. Maybe time was just an illusion. Maybe the past, the present, and the future all existed at the same time, and the stopped times were the points where those three times intersected. To test this theory, Elias decided to do something. He would repair a stopped time from the future, Emma Thorne's time. But how? Emma had not been born yet. Her time did not exist yet. Then he understood. He would make the time himself, a time for the future, and he would give it to Emma when she was born. But for that, first he needed to have a child himself, or at least find a way to reach that child. Elias thought. He was 60 years old. He had never married. He had no children. But maybe it was not too late yet. That day, Elias closed his workshop and went outside. He did something he hadn't done in years. He went to a social place, a cafe. At the cafe, he talked to people. For the first time, he truly talked, not only about clocks, but also about life as well. And he met a woman. Her name was Clara. She was 55 years old. She was a teacher and had retired. Her husband had died 5 years ago. "What do you do for a living?" Clara asked. "I'm a clock repairman," Elias said. "Oh, how nice. I like clocks. They represent time, and time is life itself." Elias smiled. Absolutely. They talked. They talked for a long time, and for the first time in years, Elias did not feel lonely. "Clara," Elias said, "may I see you again?" Clara smiled. "Yes, I would love to." Months passed. Elias and Clara got to know each other better. They had meals together, walked in parks, visited museums, and slowly something grew between them. It was not love, at least not like the love of young people, but it was a deep affection, a bond, a companionship. One day, Clara came to the workshop. She looked at the clocks covering the walls. "There are so many clocks here," she said. "They all show different times." "Yes," Elias said, "because time is different for everyone." "What do you mean?" "For some people, time flows fast. For some, it flows slowly. For some, it stops. And for some, it goes backward." Clara thought for a moment. "And you? How is time for you?" Elias looked at her. Mine had stopped for a long time, but now it has started to flow again. Clara smiled. Mine too. When my husband died, my time stopped as well, but after I met you, it started to flow again. Elias held her hand. Clara, I want to ask you something. What is it? Will you marry me? Clara was surprised. Then she smiled. Yes, Elias. Yes, I will. Elias and Clara got married with a simple, small ceremony. Only a few friends, a few neighbors, but Elias was happy. For the first time in his life, he was truly happy. 1 year after they were married, Clara said something to Elias. Elias, I need to tell you something. What is it? I have a daughter. I haven't told you before, because she hasn't spoken to me for years. Why? Because when I married my husband, she was very angry. After her biological father died, she thought marrying someone else was a betrayal to him, and she stopped speaking to me. I understand, Elias said. What is her name? Emma Morrison. Elias's heart stopped. Emma, the name in the notebook. Emma Thorne, but her last name was Morrison. How old is she? 32, and she has a daughter. She's 8 years old. Her name is Lily. Elias thought, Emma Thorne. Maybe she was Emma's daughter, Lily, and maybe one day Lily would change her last name to Thorne. Elias, Clara said, can we visit Emma together? Clara hesitated. I don't know. She may not want to see me. Let's try, please, Elias said. Elias and Clara visited Emma. Emma lived on the other side of the city, in a small house. She was a single parent living with her daughter. When she opened the door and saw Clara, her face hardened.
Mom, what do you want? Emma, please. I want to introduce you to someone. This is Elias, my husband. Emma looked at Elias. She was cold and distant. Nice to meet you, but I'm busy right now. Just a few minutes, Clara said. Please. Emma let them in. The house was simple but clean. In the corner, a little girl was sitting, Lily. She was drawing. Elias looked at Lily. She was 8 years old, with brown hair and big eyes. She was drawing, and in the drawing there was a clock. What are you drawing? Elias asked. Lily looked up. A clock, because I like time. Elias smiled. I like time too. Actually, I'm a clock repairman. Lily's eyes lit up. Really? Can you repair clocks? Yes. I have a clock, but it's stopped. Can you fix it? Elias looked at Clara. Clara nodded. Yes, on the day Lily was born, the clock on the wall of the hospital stopped at 12. A strange coincidence. But Elias knew it was not a coincidence. It was a sign of time. I can fix it, Elias said, but it will take a few days. May I take it? Yes, Lily said excitedly. Please. Elias returned to his workshop. He placed Lily's clock on his table, and he looked at the notebook. Emma Thorne, 12 o'clock, future. But now he understood. Emma Thorne was Lily, and 12 o'clock was the moment of her birth. And that moment was both happiness and pain, both beginning and ending. Clara had mentioned it before. Emma's husband had died 1 week before Lily was born, a heart attack. And when Lily came into the world, her father was already gone. And that was why Lily's time had frozen at 12 o'clock,
at the moment of her birth, because that moment was both happiness and pain, both beginning and ending. Elias opened the clock. The mechanism was complex. It was a modern clock, not like the old ones. But Elias knew what to do. He repaired the clock. He changed the battery, cleaned the mechanism. And then he did one more thing. He placed a small note inside the clock, just like his grandfather had done. The note said, "Time does not stop. It only waits. When you are ready, it flows again." He closed the clock, and it started working. Tick-tock, tick-tock. 1 week later, Elias returned Lily's clock. Lily was very excited. "Does it work?" "Yes, it works." Lily held the clock to her ear. "Tick-tock, can you hear it?" "Yes, I can hear it." Lily hugged Elias. "Thank you, you're amazing." Emma was standing in the corner. Her eyes were filled with tears. "Thank you," she said to Elias. "You didn't just fix the clock. You gave Lily a gift." "You're welcome," Elias said. "It's my job." From that day on, the ice between Emma and Clara began to melt. Emma started talking to her mother again, and she began to like Elias as well, because Elias treated Lily like a father. Months passed. Elias, Clara, Emma, and Lily met often. They became like a family. And one day, Elias asked Lily something. "Grandpa Elias, what will I be when I grow up?" "What do you want to be?" "A clock repairman, like you." I smiled. "Then I will teach you." "Really?" "Yes, but first you need to grow up, and then I will teach you the family secret." "What secret?" "The secret of time."
Years passed. Lily grew up. When she turned 18, Elias began teaching her clock repair. Every day after school, she came to the workshop. Elias taught her all the fine details. But Lily was not only learning how to repair clocks, she was learning the language of time. "Lily," Elias would say, "clocks don't just measure time, they tell the story of time. Every clock carries a memory, and our job is to protect that memory." Lily listened carefully. "So what do stopped clocks mean?" "Stopped clocks," Elias would say, "mean frozen moments. When people experience a moment that is very painful or very precious, they want to freeze it, and their clocks stop. Our job is to make those clocks work again, because time must flow. Memories should be remembered, but life must go on." Lily tried to understand these things, and slowly she did. One day, Elias showed her the large leather-bound notebook. "What is this?" Lily asked. "This is the family secret. This notebook contains records of clocks that have stopped for centuries. Every name is a story. Every clock is a moment." Lily opened the notebook. She flipped through the pages. Then she saw her own name. "Lily Emma Thorne, 12, found." "Is this me?" "Yes," Elias said. "When you were born, your time stopped at 12, because your father was not there that day, and you grew up with that absence. But then your clock was repaired, and your time began to flow again. That's why it says, 'found,' because you found yourself." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "And what should I do now?" "Now," Elias said, "you must continue this notebook, because I am growing old, and one day this work will be yours." "But I'm not ready."
No one ever is, Elias said, but when the time comes, you will be. Elias turned 80. His health began to decline. He could no longer work long hours. Lily took over most of the workshop, and the customers began to like Lily, because Lily did not just repair clocks, she repaired hearts, just like Elias. One day, an old man came into the workshop. He brought a pocket watch. It had stopped at 3:15. "Can you repair this watch?" he asked. Lily took the watch and looked at it. She said, "Yes, I can. But first, I want to ask, what does this watch mean to you?" The old man hesitated. "This was my wife's watch. When she died, the watch stopped, and I never had it repaired, because as long as the watch stayed stopped, it felt like my wife was still alive." Lily smiled. "I understand. But is it time to repair it now?" The old man nodded. "Yes, I'm ready now. I'm ready to remember." Lily repaired the watch, and when she returned it, the old man cried. "Thank you," he said. "You are just like your grandfather." Lily smiled. "Yes, he taught me everything." Elias died at the age of 85, quietly in his sleep. Clara was beside him. Emma and Lily were there too. At his funeral, there were hundreds of people, the owners of the clocks Elias had repaired. They had all come to say goodbye. "He wasn't just a clock repairman," someone said. "He was a healer. He repaired time," someone else said, "and our hearts." Lily was crying, but she was also proud, because Elias had left her a legacy, not just the workshop. It was a duty, the guardianship of time. Lily took over the workshop, and she did not change its name. It still said Thorne Clock Repair on the door. Every day customers came and left their clocks, and Lily repaired each one with care, because she knew that every clock was a story. Every stopped clock was a frozen moment. One night, Lily was working alone in the workshop. She was sitting at Elias's old desk, repairing a clock, and suddenly a strange feeling came over her, as if Elias was there, beside her, watching her. Lily lifted her head. The workshop was empty, but she could feel it. Elias was still there, in every tick-tock of the clocks, in every echo of memory. "Thank you, Grandpa, for teaching me everything." And it was as if an answer came. All the clocks in the workshop ticked at the same time, like a symphony, like a response. Lily smiled, and she continued working.
Chapter 6. The Final Lesson. Years passed. Lily turned 30. She got married and had a son. She named him Elias, Little Elias. And as little Elias grew, Lily began teaching him the language of time, just as Elias had taught her. One day, little Elias asked, "Why do clocks stop?" Lily smiled. "Because sometimes people want to freeze a moment. They don't want that moment to pass, and their clocks stop." Have you ever wanted to freeze a moment? Lily thought for a moment. Yes, when Grandpa Elias died, I wanted to freeze that moment because I didn't know what life would be like without him. Did your clock stop? No,
Because Grandpa Elias taught me something. Time should not stop. Pain passes, memories remain, but life goes on. Little Elias listened carefully. So what will I be when I grow up? What do you want to be? A clock repairer, like you and like Grandpa Elias. Lily hugged him. Then I will teach you everything. One night, Lily had a dream. In the dream, Elias was there, in his younger form, and they were in a room. The walls were covered with countless clocks. Lily, Elias said, I need to teach you one final lesson. What is it? The secret of time. But you already taught me. No, I only taught you part of it. Now I will teach you all of it. Elias pointed to a clock. When does this clock stop? When people want to freeze a moment. Yes, and why do they want to freeze it? Because that moment is very precious or very painful. Correct, but what is the real reason? Lily thought. I don't know. Because, Elias said, people are afraid of time passing. They are afraid of change. They are afraid of letting go of the past, and so they freeze a moment. But this is wrong, because time cannot be stopped. Time flows, and it must flow. Then what is our duty? Our duty, Elias said, is to remind people, to remind them that time cannot be stopped, but also to remind them that time is not something to fear, because time is life itself, and life is beautiful, with its pain, its joy, its memories. Lily understood. And the clocks? The clocks, Elias said, are symbols of time, but only symbols. Real time lives in our hearts, in our memories, and that time never stops. Elias smiled. You have been a wonderful guardian, Lily. I am proud of you. Thank you, Grandpa. And now your duty continues. Teach little Elias, and one day he will teach his own child. That way, time will always flow. When Lily woke from the dream, she was crying, but these were happy tears.
Years passed. Lily grew old. Her hair turned white. Wrinkles settled on her face. But she was still working. Every day she went to the workshop and repaired clocks. Little Elias grew up. When he turned 25, he took over the workshop. Lily had taught him everything. And Elias, just like his mother, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather, became a guardian of time. One day, Lily went to the workshop. Elias was working, repairing a clock. "What are you fixing?" Lily asked. "A pocket watch. A customer brought it this morning. It stopped at 8:22. Lily's heart tightened. 8:22. Grandpa Elias's time. That watch? Who brought it? I don't know. An elderly woman. She didn't give her name. She just said, "Repair this watch. There is a secret inside." Lily took the watch. It was an old, gold-plated pocket watch. There was an engraving on it. E.T. Elias Thorne. Lily opened the watch. Inside there was a small note. Yellowed, old paper. "Stopped clocks hide the truth." Lily smiled. "Yes, Grandpa, you're still right." Elias looked at her. "Mom, do you know this watch?" "Yes," Lily said. "This is your great-grandfather's watch, and this note is where everything began."
What do you mean? Lily took out the notebook, the large leather-bound notebook. Look at this book. This is our family's legacy. Every stopped clock is a story. Every story is a lesson, and you will learn these lessons. Elias took the notebook. He flipped through the pages. He saw hundreds of names, centuries-old names. This is real? Yes, and now this duty belongs to you. Your time has come. Elias began to read the pages, and on every page he found a story. Painful stories, happy stories, forgotten stories. And at the center of them all, there was a clock, a stopped clock. Mom, can I do this? Yes, Lily said, because you are ready, just as I was ready, just as your grandfather was ready. That night, Lily returned home. She was tired, but happy. Her duty was complete. Little Elias was now the guardian of time. She lay down in her bed, closed her eyes, and dreamed. In the dream, she was in a room. The walls were covered with countless clocks, and in the room stood 3 people: Grandpa Elias, Grandma Clara, and her mother Emma.
They were all smiling. "Welcome, Lily," Elias said. "Where am I?" "Outside of time. Here, past, present, and future exist at the same time." Lily looked around. The clocks were working, all of them. None were stopped. "Aren't there any stopped clocks here?" "No," Elias said, "because here time is perfect. Everyone has made peace with their memories. Everyone has accepted their past, and everyone is ready for the future." "Am I dying?" Elias smiled. "No, you are just visiting. But one day you will come here permanently, and then you will join your family." Lily felt happy. "And then?" "Then," Elias said, "you will also be a guardian, but a different kind of guardian. You will watch from beyond time, and when needed, you will help." "How?" "Through clocks, through notes, through dreams, just like I am helping you now." "I understood. So you were always there. Every time I repaired a clock, were you with me?" "Yes, and one day you will be with your grandchildren." Lily cried, but they were happy tears. "Thank you, Grandpa, for everything." "You're welcome, Lily. And remember, time does not stop. Time flows, and we are part of that flow." Lily woke up. It was morning. Sunlight filtered through the window. She got up, went to the kitchen, made coffee, and looked outside through the window. The city was waking up. People were going to work. Life was going on. And everywhere, clocks were ticking. Wall clocks, wristwatches, pocket watches, all working in the same rhythm, the rhythm of time. Lily smiled. "Yes, Grandpa, time flows, and I am part of that flow." That day, Lily did not go to the workshop. She stayed home, played with her grandchildren, told stories, cooked meals, enjoyed life. Because now she understood. Being a guardian of time was not just about repairing clocks. Being a guardian of time was about living life, valuing every moment, remembering the past, living the present, and being ready for the future.
And that night, when Lily lay down in her bed, she was at peace, because she knew her duty was complete. Little Elias would continue it, and his children, and their children. Time would never stop, because time was life itself.
Now, you are listening to this story too. Maybe you are lying in your bed. Maybe your eyes are getting heavy. Maybe you are about to fall asleep. And maybe you are thinking too, do I have a stopped clock? Maybe you do. Maybe there is a moment in your life, a frozen moment, a moment you wanted to forget, or a moment you never wanted to lose. Maybe a farewell, maybe a regret, maybe a love, maybe a pain. And that moment has stopped inside you, just like those clocks, at 3:15, at 8:22, at 12 o'clock, whatever the hour may be. But know this, that moment cannot stay there forever, because time does not stop. Time flows, and you must flow too. Maybe tomorrow, maybe a week from now, maybe a year from now, but one day you will repair that clock. You will accept that moment, and you will begin to live again. Because you are a guardian too, the guardian of your own time, the guardian of your own life. And your duty is simple: to live, to remember, to forgive, and to move on. Now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think of your own stopped clock. What was that moment? When did it freeze? Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are here now, in this moment, breathing, living. And tomorrow a new day will begin, a new chance, a new beginning. But now just sleep, relax, find peace, because sleep is time's gift. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Good night, sweet dreams, and remember, time never stops, only we do. But we can always begin again. Tick, tock, tick, tock, forever.